Good evening, everyone. What you saw there, it's Bram Milton and I doing what the Bible says. The Bible says when you see each other, kiss each other with a holy kiss. Okay, so that was our holy kiss before we start. If I'm correct, I think we are live online as well. And this is our first ULP in more than 2 years having people in this place. We used to have more than 200 people every month. And when COVID hit, we decided not to do that. But I'm seeing some familiar faces like Victor. Victor, I doubt, has missed any ULP. Our partner, Rosalind. I've seen confidence in some of the people that are part of ULP. So welcome to ULP. My name is Theo Mashego, and I'm the CEO. And I'm proud to see you guys here, even within the rain. So clap hands for yourselves. No, come on, clap hands for yourselves. Do better, man. Okay, now clap hands for me. Clap hands for me. Okay. Yeah. Now say wow. Say wow. Yeah. So every time I say what a, because I'm your host. Every time I say what a host, you say wow. What a host. Thank you. Every time I say ULP, you say wow. Every time I say Old Mutual, you say wow. And every time I say NMM, you say wow. But thank you for coming. I think we're going to have an exciting day. So I've been with ULP for more than 12 years. We've been in this venue for more than 9 years. This is only the second time Mr. Khadebe is on the podium. The first time he was on the podium was when we were hosting Jabu Mabuza. And Jabu didn't want to speak alone, so we had him with Babu Khatewe. So for the first time, we actually will be documenting Babu Khatewe's story. And I think it's God sent because Babu Khatewe and Mamsalu have got a history together. But again, referring to the Bible, today I'm John the Baptist. There is one who's greater than me who's going to come and welcome you and speak about others. And that is Ms. Tabu. She's the GM of Public Affairs and Sustainability at Old Mutual. I knew that sustainability word will catch me, you see, because depending on which school you went to, the tongue sometimes is a bit wild. So let's just say wow and clap hands for Ms. Tabu as she comes to welcome you guys and hand over to you.
Thank you, Theo. Good evening, everybody. As Theo has said, my name is Tabitha from Old Mutual, and definitely it is such a privilege and an honor for us to be here tonight, and good evening to our esteemed guests. Old Mutual is very excited to announce its partnership with ULP, a newly launched initiative called Mutually Collaborate Program as well. The program will focus primarily on building highly impactful partnerships with our various partners, including industry bodies and professional associations. Now, collaboration is very important for us at Old Mutual, and we are committed to working with all our stakeholders across sectors to help restore economies, empower communities, and deliver on our purpose of championing truly mutually positive futures every day. We believe that by building mutually beneficial relationships, we are able to share value and contribute to making the world a better place. We call this truly mutual. ULP's values and mission resonate very strongly with our core values at Old Mutual, and we share a common purpose. We too are passionate about the welfare of our communities, especially those that we operate in, as well as the involvement and empowerment of our professionals and entrepreneurs. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has fundamentally changed our ways of working, but it has also worsened the socio-economic conditions under which the vulnerable communities live. The pandemic has also underlined the major social issues cannot be tackled alone, emphasizing the importance of relationships and strategic partnerships to reduce poverty, inequality, unemployment, and many other issues that the majority of us grapple with on a day-to-day basis. The inspiring thing about partnerships is that they are greater than the sum of the parts. When people from diverse organizations get together to work towards a common goal, there is sharing of ideas and an interplay of opinions that produces fresh new thoughts and solutions. Our partnership with the ULP is going to do just that. With that said, I'm really looking forward to the conversation tonight, and I hope you have a good evening. And I now hand over to our host, the esteemed facilitator and veteran former BBC journalist, Milton Gosi. It's over to you.
Thank you so much, Tabe. It's good to see you. I follow you on Instagram, and I have become used to seeing you in small doses. And now I see the whole of you. And that is so pleasing. And I think it goes to everyone, because I've also gotten used to seeing Professor Khatebe on Instagram. And now I'm seeing him in person again. So life is getting back to normal again. And we hope that we'll never have other disturbing variants like we saw in the last few months. It's good to be back at ULP. It's good to see ULP. We had a session where we didn't have an audience here, and we were online. So you can tell the more things change, the more they stay the same, because we love to be online, but we also want to be seeing in person. We want to feel the energy. So it's great to be back here. Everyone, welcome. And those who are following us online, we haven't forgotten you. You are also welcome to this wonderful discussion with our esteemed guests. Mam Salukas, Nyazbute Autandi, Amakemer. Relaxed, you are amongst friends. And the organization I used to work for, they have a program called Hard Talk. Yeah. And some of you may be aware of it. It's where they grill politicians and big personalities. They ask you difficult questions, just as the program name says. It's Hard Talk. And I always try to put people I talk to at ease, Mamsalu, and I tell them this is not Hard Talk. Yeah. We are just having a conversation. So welcome. It's great to be with you today.
Thank you.
And Prof, always good to be with you. You are looking fine. Looks like Vets Business School is looking after you well.
Thank you.
It felt like you were sent to the gallows when you started, but a year has passed.
Amazing.
And you are doing great things. We are proud and we are delighted that you're with us. Now, I want to introduce you just a little bit. I know you get incredibly embarrassed by your amazing achievements, but this is the moment that we should put them on record. Mamsalu is the CEO of Nozala Investments, a leading investment company with interests ranging from hospitals and education to construction materials and telecoms. She co-founded Nozala Investments in 1996. Where were you? Previous influential posts she has held include the following: Senior Investment Officer, Lesotho National Development Corporation, Country Program Officer, and later Principal Corporation Officer, African Development Bank, Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, Senior Manager, Structured Finance Division, First Corp Merchant Bank, Assistant General Manager, BOE Specialized Finance. Mamsalu is a non-executive director of some of Nozala's investee companies, including Extra, Enviroserve Holdings Limited, Woodlands Dairy Pty Ltd, Afripac, Tsibo Outsourcing Group, Synergy Freight International, and Natal Rubber Compounders. She's also a director at MultiChoice South Africa Holdings. Mamsalu holds a BA Economics and Stats from the degree from the National University of Lesotho and a Master's in Development Economics from Williams College in Massachusetts, USA. Am I correct, Mamsalu? Am I misrepresenting you? It is so good that we are here together. And I want to ask you, my first question is, why did you start Nozala? Everything was fine. And then...
Thank you very much, everybody, for the invitation. It's indeed my greatest pleasure to be here. I think I need to start by correcting some of the... I'm no more on lots of those boards. I have my CEO of Nozala here, Mandlesilo Msimang. So I've since moved on. But I sit on her board as a non-executive chairman, and my passion remains with the Nozala Trust, where I sit as a trustee and also chairs their management committee, including the National Movement of Rural Women, where I also chair their management committee. Also, I just want to add something very important and close to me. I was born and raised in Soweto. I'm a girl from Soweto, Orlando East, Mufutsanyana Street. So it's very, very important for me to always remember my roots, where I come from, because I always believe I'm who I am today because of Soweto and those mothers that were our neighbors in Soweto.
No, thank you very much. I assume that you support Orlando Pirates, which would make me
indeed.
very, very happy.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Oh, wonderful. We're in good company, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
So let me also acknowledge Jean Ngubane. She actually was the person that conceived the concept. When I came back from Abidjan, from the African Development Bank, and was at First COP, Jean conceived the idea through her board seat of what our current president had started with Bontate Motlana, the late, and Judge Museneke, and the late Sisulu, whose name I just forget now, but Zwelakhe. They had founded this male-owned and controlled BE company. And then they invited Jean to sit on their board. And it was, I think, in February of 1996 that Jean then asked them when they launched. And fortunately, I was also invited there for their launching of their BE company. And Jean said, but, I mean, why are we here? These are male people, high profile, but they should have started something that is majority held by women. And she asked them, can you support us in starting our own women's investment company? And at that time, they were rather advised by African Merchant Bank that had just started. And, that's how we got in, because we were then told, oh, no, that's fine. We can support you. We'll guide you as we are supporting this new company of Bontate Mseneke. So for me, I think the important thing is also to indicate that from my training with the African Development Bank, I had this passion for growing people. I mean, it was the specific training that got me where I am, to not forget where we all come from. I mean, to enjoy food alone and be quite healthy and forget that there are other people around that need that was always something that, sat well with me. And that's how the bank, got me into that particular direction of making sure that you don't forget where you come from. But again, coming from Soweto, as I said, I always try to remember when I ever had that Saturday lunch, strategy, meal in the evening, Sunday, without other young neighbors, I'm a neighbor, other children that were my age mates at the time, that we shared food with. And at the time, obviously, there was very little to be shared. But for me, it was when I also, for the first time, I realized that it's cocoa, when pap, and then this cocoa is that bent bottom of pap porridge. And because the others were much smarter than I, they would eat quickly the nice pap. And my mother would say, oh, sorry, there's no more pap, but it's just this cocoa. And I would find myself ending up with cocoa. And that has remained my best part of pap, is cocoa. And I know some of you like his cocoa more than the real pap. So that background, that upbringing, made me realize that indeed I cannot succeed alone. I cannot be there alone. I've got to be with other people. I've got to be with other women. And the job that I was doing at the ADB brought me to that level of making sure that I become one of those that develop, not necessarily women, but assist in funding projects that would get people out of poverty. Now, I remember the countries that I was responsible for. The first one was Tanzania, and at its worst levels of development. And they had been, I wouldn't call it punished, but the Western countries had decided not to support them because of their socialist, which I think we called it African socialism, because that's what the president was all about at the time in Tanzania, which is what some of us were used to coming from Soweto, that you don't grow alone, you don't eat alone, but you do it with other people. So in Tanzania, the experience there was really very touching, because President Nyerere was very passionate about making sure that the concept of socialism prevails. And this was in 1983, actually 83 when I arrived in Tanzania. I was called a young professional by the African Development Bank and being trained. And let me put it in our language that you'll understand. Ngupapa. For me, it was very important because I came from South Africa and also having been in Lesotho, where the whole thing was about making sure that apartheid goes and we. So we were all passionate about changing things in our economy, making sure that this President Nyerere's socialism becomes real. And to the extent that reading about and using Tanzania as one of those examples was so important to me. And when, with the African Development Bank, nobody wanted to go to Tanzania because there you'd have to carry toilet paper. You may not get water to wash yourself with when you get, it was terrible. But for me, that's what I enjoyed, because I guess I was used to the life in Soweto, and I wanted to experience it. And my bosses at the bank couldn't believe that. Indeed, I want to go there. So it was, now that I think back, I say, how did I survive? Because, but I did. It was very interesting. And I could experience what they called at the time Ujama villages. What I was talking about, doing things together, growing together, and succeeding together. That his concept was about developing together. So I think from that background, it got into me that I don't think one can say I'm successful, I'm proud, when other people around you are not where you are, particularly in terms of the hunger, not having means of survival, and not being empowered or supported to grow themselves and become better. Students not being supported to get better education. So this is what Nyerere was all about. Free education with the universities and people being really supported to grow their businesses, start their business, grow their wealth, develop themselves without becoming these begging bowls. I think for me it was fundamentally important that there's no begging bowl. There's no person that can be, allowed or, led to become this begging bowl, and Akong was everywhere. It's such a painful thing to see sometimes. So when then I came back home, and there was this opportunity, I was asked by Jean, together with those people that were supporting him at the time, that they should ask me to chair this thing. I don't know why, but they then approached me, can you become the chair of Nozana? So I had to ask my bosses. At the time, Brian Kennedy, I'm sure you know Brian. Brian Kennedy was the vice president of First Corp Merchant Bank at the time, responsible for structured finance. So when I arrived there, it was also to say, for me, it's got to be, advancing the things that I thought needed to be done for our country, for our continent. So when I presented my credentials, I wouldn't call it you become cheeky or you become, but I wanted to make sure that I articulate very clearly how I would play the role of an employee or an official or a senior person in this, I needed to be listened to as well and to be understood where I want, how I want to be supportive to First Corp Merchant Bank, for instance. So hence, for me, it was to introduce the concept of funding projects, cross-border funding of projects, as opposed to, because South Africa was perceived to be very rich, according to me as well. But around South Africa, there was a lot of poverty. So, and lo and behold, Brian said, well, let's test it. Against somebody who at the time was trying to attract me to a big merchant bank at the time, I won't mention the name, to say, well, we need people come and be the head of transformation, empowerment. And I said, no, what do I understand? Because I've been away from home for over 25 years. How can I come and head the BE unit of one of the big banks? I cannot do that. And that's how, for me, it was befitting for me to be at a place where somebody would allow me to do things that I think would create a lot of value to those people that I'm working with or I'm supposed to deliver a service to. So that's how. Please just stop me. You've asked me to, so I can.
What a beautiful
Just
story.
make
This is beautiful. You know, when I trained in journalism, one of our lecturers said to us, always remember, listening is a skill. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, Nkosi Thula. Don't interrupt. This is just the right moment. And it's so fantastic. Thank you so much for taking us through it. I'll come back to you in a minute. I want to bring in Professor Radebe, who is well known to most of us. But for those who do not know him, he was until September 2020 executive vice president of energy and safety, health and environment at Sasol Limited, and was responsible for Sasol's energy business globally. Petrol, Baba. He was accountable for the successful marketing of all energy business products, as well as managing the gas to liquid GTL, joint ventures in Qatar, Oryx GTL, and Nigeria, EGTL, the gas to power GTP venture in Mozambique. And he was also responsible for Sasol's functions in support of sustainable business practices, Tebi, sustainable. In addition, he was accountable for the design of systems, processes, and capacity to ensure that there's adherence by all entities to applicable group requirements. Morris joined Sasol Oil, now part of energy business, in January 2004, when Sasol Oil purchased Excel Petroleum. He was appointed managing director, fuels marketing, and Sasol Oil, responsible for all liquid fuels products through retail and wholesale channels. He served as managing director of Sasol Oil from December 2006 to October 2010. He was appointed to Sasol's Group Executive Committee in November 2010 and was responsible for global corporate affairs, government relations, and enterprise development. He obtained a Bachelor of Science degree, Applied Mathematics and Physics, work with me, from the University of the North, now known as University of Limpopo. In 1991, he attended the Management Advancement Program, MAP, at Wits Business School, and in 1997 obtained a Master's in Business Administration from the same business school. He also attended the General Management Program at Harvard School in Boston in the United States. He was appointed as executive in residence at Wits Business School January 2013, and since then has worked with various heads of schools to provide tangible business experience to the learning environment with emphasis on energy industry. Morris is deeply committed to socio-economic transformation of South Africa and the role that education can play in achieving it. He's also passionate about leadership and gender equality and invests his own time and resources in mentoring and supporting young people. He was appointed director and head of Wits Business School in January 2021. And this is a summary. How did you meet Mamsalo?
Wow. Before I answer that question, let me acknowledge Tebi, mutually collaborate Old Mutual partnership with ULP and National Mentorship Movement. This is the first initiative we have. Also like to acknowledge Mam Salu, who's always supported the Women in Energy program of ULP. So let's give them a round of applause. Mam Salu, umamami. Ngiyaziclaimela vela. Fanele uzibhikele, esikhathi sakhuluma ukuthi uzibhikele. Why am I saying she's my mother? She trusted me with her investment when I was leading Excel, being a small company, everybody thinking, well, this company is not going to survive, and this company is not going to succeed. But she was one of those very committed, staunch supporter of Excel Petroleum at that time, and stayed with us, supported us. When we did a deal of merging with Sasol Oil, she asked me, is my investment safe in Sasol Oil? And I said, Mama, come with me. Because you know when you've got your mom close to you, you feel comfortable. So she came in the Nozala, kept their investment in Sasol Oil, and we built Sasol Oil together. And some of you don't know this history, that Sasol Oil never had petrol stations. They only had a blue pump in each service station. But now all the service stations, I can see, is it Itani there under? Yeah, Itani is one of my Excel mentees and young people. Now you see all the service stations of Sasol Oil all over the country. It was a merger between Excel service station and we converted them into Sasol Oil. Again, she's been committed as a shareholder. What she didn't mention in her CV is that she serves on the board of Sasol Oil. So while she was my shareholder and my boss, but she also was a board member, a very committed board member of Sasol Oil. Together we've been there. I've been the chairman of Sasol Oil for almost 12 years. And we left together when I retired, and she also took a step down. So handed over to Mandla. And so I know Mam Salu's heart of developing young people, giving them a chance. Before I could even ask, she saw a talent in my daughter, Palisa, I'm in Simpiwe. See, when you're getting old, this is Palisa. Simpiwe, and took a chance on her. Literally, straight from school, no experience, nothing. And she gave a chance to run a company secretariat unit of the Nozala, and she grew. And now she's a candidate attorney, still supporting Nozala. And for that, I'm grateful, Mom. She's not done it for her. Let's give her a round of applause. She's not done it for my daughter only. She's done millions of, hundreds of thousands of young people, gave her a chance. That's why I'm so close to her. And one thing I really want to do, Mom, and I want to say it in public here because I want it to be recorded, is that the legacy of an institution that you've built, called Nozala, a women-owned, women-managed institution, survived through the turbulence of market volatility, survived COVID, when all the investment companies that started during the time when it was fashionable to form an investment company, and it became so sustainable. This generation, Boman, Musimpiwe and all the others, must build this institution and take the baton from you and make it the biggest women-owned, women-controlled, women-driven investment company in the world. Do you believe that? And I'm going to be there to support them. Thank you, Mom.
No, thank you very very much. What a lovely opening. That was brilliant, very educational. I hope those who are online are taking notes. Mamsalo, I wanted to ask about, you told the story of how everything began and the history. How did you overcome the challenges? Because we know we can sit here and it sounds so lovely and so lofty, but these things are never easy. How did you navigate all those obstacles that you were coming across as you were building?
Can I just start by saying something to correct what you're
correcting today.
In terms of Simpiwe, I think it's important because just like Mandla, when I saw Simpiwe in action as a volunteer with the Bethakwa Foundation, you remember, Baba?
Yeah.
Taking minutes writing at no cost at all to the Bethakwa Foundation, but writing these excellent minutes and being very much committed to that work. Nobody was paying her, but she would just volunteer to take minutes. And I thought, wow, we need to take this one through to Nozala and make sure that we stop outsourcing our company secretarial services, but let her grow within Nozala and become this. It was not because of you, Baba. Definitely, I had met you, but she just on her own excelled. Nobody paying her, and for me that touched me deeply. And it was to say, we need young ones like her. Because already at that time, it was a bit difficult to see the young African, and I'm talking African children, realizing their importance, making sure that they don't sit there and wait for their parents to, but they go out to express themselves fully in terms of what they can do and grow and develop themselves. So I'm looking at her, I was highly impressed. And when she came and decided she wanted to do law again, and I kept on praying literally. Please come back to Nozala. Don't, after you get your LLB, whatever, accreditation, I don't know what it's called, but admission, please come back. Because that Nozala with the Mandlas, that age group, the young ones, should be the ones that take Nozala to the highest levels. Tina, we are just, how can I call us? We came after the transformation process. We did not come with creative minds. We are, beneficiaries of transformation, BE transformation. So these young ones come with that creative spirit of making sure that they do things correctly and for themselves. They don't depend on BE. They are educated. All they need is to be given the opportunity to express themselves. And with the country, our country where it is, we are part of the global economy. And as we move and express ourselves globally, it cannot be through BE. It cannot be, you cannot, I'm black and I want opportunities. In the UK, no. You've got to play the role properly and express yourself and market what you are doing properly.
Beautiful. Now, let me come in there.
Okay.
I want you to talk to us about Nozala Trust, which I know is your first love in the investments that you have. But before then, I just want you to give us an overview of the strategy that you use to overcome, so that those who are watching, the Simpiwes of today, the Mandlas of today, they can just learn on how you navigated those difficult terrains.
First of all, and this was, I think, when I was at the African Development Bank. You come to this very strange country. You've got to speak a language. Fortunately, I had studied French, but I had no spoken French experience with me. I mean, it was just having passed French for my metric exams, not necessarily spoken French. And then you arrive at a place where you are supposed to be a young professional. But I realized then that with this very strange and foreign environment, I needed to assert myself. I needed to make sure that I fully express myself and do the things that I'm here for, not to be told that, okay, Tanzania is a difficult country, you won't be able to go, you can't, anyway, you can't do this because it's, you are very young. Yes, indeed, I'm a young professional, but I decided that I've got to make sure that I fully express myself, develop my own objectives of growing myself and contributing fully to what I'm expected to do.
So it's that confidence.
It's that confidence. It's that I know at some point.
Assert yourself.
That assertiveness that somebody said, oh, she's very aggressive. And I would say, but what do these people mean when they say I'm aggressive? I remember I had a boss from, I won't mention the country and name of the person, but he was the chief executive of the group at the time. And then, I would actually tell him, no. Yes, you say I can be part of this team going to France for this meeting with the World Bank, and then I can wait to hear from others how I can. I said, no. Please, can I also contribute? Can you give me a chance also to be part of this thing and say exactly what I think contribute towards the drafting of the speeches, because at that point it was to discuss Tanzania and support Tanzania to now get to be funded by these countries that had put them under very strict and terrible sanctions. I need to be part of this. I need to contribute and not sit and wait for the others. And he did not like it. He just did not like it. To the extent that when we went to that meeting the first morning, for some reason he delayed coming. I was there ahead of him, and he found me having been put on the front line by the Minister of Finance at the time of Tanzania, because we are pap, whether they thought I was papping or whatever. But they saw me as this young one who really wanted to contribute something and make a change. So this for me is what I think we should be encouraging our young ones to do. You are educated, you've been given the skills, even if you're not educated. But where you sit, you're proactive, you're thinking through issues and being proactive and being supportive to activities that bring about change in you. You can't sit and say, oh, I have a mother, there's no food. Think about something that you can do to contribute and not give excuses, of not you, oh, ngimncane, ayangkhoni. No.
So you need to be assertive.
You need to be assertive.
That's a good one. Pungan, you told us about how you merge Excel and Sasol and create these partnerships. What does it take to be a builder of partnerships? We see this partnership with ULP now, with Old Mutual. You are building partnerships through the university, where you are working through the church that you have, Agape Family Church. What does it take? What do you need to do to be able to build these strategic partnerships, relationships?
Very important question, because life is what Mom Salu said, being able to live together. Now, first of all, fundamentally, in order to make a good partnership work, is you need to believe in the principle of not win-lose, not lose-win, but in the principle of win-win. And it must be ingrained in you. Because if you are not believing in that, there are times in a partnership relationship, in the negotiations, you'll find you actually have an upper leverage with the partner that you're busy negotiating. And if you believe in win-lose, you could structure the relationship or the deal in such a way that you lose, you take everything, and the person next door to you, sitting on the other table, actually go with very little. But trust me, having been in this industry particularly, it's a long-term industry. I've learned that you do long-term partnership agreements and relationships. Let me give you an example. This is recorded in a case study. Those that study energy will go and look at it. One of the major oil companies did a deal with one of African countries called Chad. This is on record, so I can speak about it. When the crude price, in other words, digging the crude in that country, when the crude price was 10 rand, which means at that time, it was a good deal for the country. But obviously, the major oil company knows that the crude price goes up, but didn't build a formula which says if it goes up, the country can also benefit when it goes up. It fixed it. Now, today, if you check, the crude price is 90. So who's making money? And the other country. Now, what happened in that? Short term, long money. But the same executives that were negotiating for this major oil company came to a time where they retire. And when they retire, the hosting country employed them as consultants. And then they said, we know this contract, we drafted this contract. It's loaded in favor of the oil company, it's not loaded in favor of you. We know clause number 7, number 10, number 8. It's basically win-lose. And it just took 15 years. And it took a major fight between the major company and the existing country. And having learned that, I've learned that, Brad, come back. Good partnerships is make sure everyone benefits out of it, mutually beneficial. Secondly, make sure that everyone throws their weight behind it. Thirdly, make sure that the benefits are shared equally or proportionally. Maybe let me use the word proportionally, because equally does not necessarily mean proportional. And make sure that the partnership is sustainable beyond you, and it benefits not only the people who are in it, but the communities in which you operate, the larger society, makes a contribution to make this world a little bit better than we found it. And so it has to have all elements of sustainability. And if it doesn't, it's going to crash, I can promise you. And so we have tried our level best, and that's why this latest partnership, when Old Mutual used the word mutually collaborate, it resonated with us, with National Mentorship Movement, and because it's got that element of partnership. Partnership with Nozala has been mutually beneficial. Partnership, I've done business partnership with Mobile, Sasol, partnership with Sasol, with Excel has been mutually beneficial. That's why it's such a successful deal even today. I've done a whole range of partnerships because what drives me when you're doing a partnership is both of us must win. If that doesn't drive you, the partnership is going to be short-lived. Thank you.
No, thank you. I thought that was good. And it's good that we should actually demonstrate that we are physically here. Yeah. Mam Salu, I want you to tell us about your passion, Nozala Trust. Why Nozala Trust?
I'm a development economist by training. And I think the experience which I went through, or my experience with the African Development Bank, exposed me to the importance of supporting women. Supporting women in development. And during the time, 13 years that I was there, the World Bank decided that for those countries that owed them lots of monies that had to be sanctioned, they would then have women supported as opposed to being part of the sanctioned parts of the countries. And through that process, I then discovered how important women were, how effective they were in terms of developing businesses, I'll call it businesses, in developing things that sustain their lives and those of their families and their communities. When I started there, to sort of confirm what we were supposed to be doing, I visited Togo during its very difficult time. It was 1984-85. Lomé, in Togo. They were going through that military rule. And a friend of mine who was responsible for, I was responsible for SADC countries, English-speaking SADC, and she was responsible for, she was a chief economist in the Francophonie section of the bank. And she, because we would talk about, those political situations that were very painful to go through. And she would tell me about Togo, how the women are still sustaining those. And I asked her to just arrange for me to visit her mother. She didn't tell me the details about what her mother was doing. But I went to Togo. It was, Ivory Coast was largely Muslim. And then Easter, there's very little of activity in the country there. I mean, people are still continuing to pray and do their work as if. And for us, we were still allowed to go on holiday. I mean, take Easter holidays, observe those holidays. I decided to visit Togo. And I was met at the airport by her mother. She couldn't speak French. It was her vernacular, the Togolese language that. She meets me with her driver, and I had never seen a Mercedes Benz that was that big, that she owned. Like, the driver went out to fetch me, carry my bags from the arrival section of the airport in Lome. I found her sitting at the back with her, next to her, there were just loads of material. And I was wondering, and she asked me, the driver said, please sit in front because Mama is there, and, we have a lot of, and then your hand overnight bag can sit next to her on the floor because the boot is full. And then she said, okay, we'll have to go to the market first before we take you to the Atai house where you'll be served lunch and all that. And I listened and I said, okay. So when we got to the market, she had her own space that she had rented. She had employed 7 people that sell her material. And the material that came out, it was a big Mercedes. Indeed, 1985. Where do you see such? So she then told me I could go home, through the interpreter who was the driver. And I said, no, I'm not going to go home. I want to spend time with her and really understand what she's doing. Then I got to know that she has a cotton farm where she's employed 79 people. She also has a machine that processes the cotton, handmade something. And all the material that she had there was material that her factory produced. I just couldn't move from there, and I became part of the ladies that were helping. And for the 3 days that I was there, I was going to that place with her, going to her factory, going to the cotton farm, just to see how it was such a rewarding experience. I say I'm a development person, and here is somebody who's not educated, who can't speak even the French, and all she knows is her vernacular. But she's doing such a fantastic job. And for me, it was important that, honestly, this drives me in terms of the job that I was doing. And this gets me to get to the point that when I came back home and we started Nozala, and the idea of saying we'll be the first broad-based women's, because at the time we had been guided by the office of Mr. Mbeki was the vice president then. And the reconstruction and development program that he was responsible of driving had identified, according to them, with her, Dr. Andy Zebe, who had been the one that was assessing where is poverty in the country and how are they going to deal with it. And because I came from the bank and known to be in that development space, they shared that draft with me. And indeed, it just hit the right spot in me. And I said, this is what we are going to do. And in doing that, we'll make sure that our investee companies, support us in sourcing materials, in sourcing all their needs from these women that would have supported to start their businesses in various areas that they would be doing. So for me, development, and coming from Soweto, as I mentioned, we did not go to school and go to boarding schools because there was a lot of money. I don't even know how my parents afforded. My mother left teaching to sew and make a lot more money. You go to Lesotho to a boarding school, you are carrying in your trunk money. What is it now? fees that are going to cover for the whole year. You have a pile shumpa of money to pay and give the principal there that this is the money for the year, given by your parents who are in Soweto, Orlando East, Mufutsana Nyast. And with that background, it became clear for me that, honestly, this is what I want, regardless of whether in my country it's going to be what the policies of the country decide to do. But it was clear, going back and being back in my country, I've got to be in an area where I will, for all that I've learned from other countries like Togo, for instance, I'll have to pass them on to and make sure that the women, I find a way of supporting the women to create jobs, to grow the economy, to contribute towards the economy. I mean, the growth of our economy, and not sit back and become begging bowls. That thing of being a begging bowl was just because some countries that I was responsible for, all the way getting, grants. Hence, the African Development Bank had the African Development Fund, I'm sure they still have it, where people were which to me was not the right thing. So, and for those that were on their own, driving their businesses on their own, they were very effective. And the example, and I'm picking up this example because I'm sure you understand Mercedes-Benz, what it is, and the expense, and employing. Yeah. I mean, for an African woman to have done that under those difficult circumstances, political circumstances, that needed to be shared. And it always inspired me that when I'm back home, I can contribute towards and not sit and be this professional that gets money. And Nozala, we started, and what do we do there? And, I mean.
Your story reminds me, I used to live in India, ladies and gentlemen, for 4 years. And I came here on holiday, and I was walking in Sentin. I met an old friend of mine. And he said, I don't see you anymore, Ploma, Pansagboni. No, man, I live in Asia, I'm not around. He says, where in Asia? I said, India. He said, I'm so sorry. And I had a driver in India, he was sorry. So you have a situation, when you go to Togo, the surprise, where you think, it's quite a very interesting educational moment there. Thank you very much for that story. I love stories, by the way, so keep them coming. We have some questions which we've been asked by Old Mutual to put to you. So I'll fire one straight to you. It's about financial education. So maybe the answers in sound bites, please, if you can. How, in your opinion, can finances or lack of play a part in your career?
Very, very important. We want to clap hands for the question. Especially this generation that is here is probably listening also online. Financial education is critical, and financial planning is critical, so that when you reach my age, by the way, some of you may not know, I'm over 60 now, I'm retired, you're financially independent. It's critical that you have a clear plan of your financial goals, your financial investment strategy, and which investment products that you go to, and which investment organizations that you invest. Start now, start early. It's much more cheaper to start early. I must tell the story because I'm deliberately telling it because I've seen the young people are doing it. So after 2 years of that work, I changed the job, I got another one, and the first thing I asked for, where's my provident fund? So instead of taking my provident fund to my next employer, I took it and I jowed it. That's my first one. The second one also, second job, same thing. After working for about 3 years or 4 years there, When I resigned, going to the, I took my provident fund. I also paid debt. And I took debt. There's a good debt, there's bad debt. Good debt and you invest in good investment, even if you take debt and you put it in property, that's good investment. If you take debt and you buy it into a car, that's bad investment. Trust me, a car, as soon as it leaves the showroom, its value depreciates instantly. I'm not going to mention the name of the car I'm owning, which is 16 years old. At that time, it was it had huge value, and it's sitting there at home now. And I'm having a huge fight with my partner of 36 years. You see, I'm good in partnerships. Yeah, one of my partner, raise your hand, my partner. Yeah, she clap hands for her. We've been in partnership for 36 years, that partnership of marriage. She always asks me, why are you still keeping this cars? But the value of this is completely diminished. Trust me. So be very careful. Thank God, I could do that twice or thrice, and then I realized if I continue with this, of taking my provident fund and pay debt with it and use it, by the time I reach this age, I'm going to be financially dependent. I will need to go to SASSA and get my SASSA card and wait there from 4 o'clock in the morning. So from when I got into my third job, I stopped doing that. When I changed the job, thank God we started Excel. And then from there, when I moved from Excel, I just said, don't touch my pension. And my provident fund went to Sasol, stayed in Sasol, I retired, financially independent. Thank God for that. I'm not saying in a proud way, but I'm just saying it's so important. And that's financial education. That's what we need to impress in you when you're young.
You've sort of answered my next question, which was going to be about debt. But, and in a way you have answered this, but I will ask it for the record. What, in your opinion, does solid financial planning consist of? What do you need to do to have a solid financial plan beyond Provident Fund, which you've already touched on?
Solid financial planning simply means that you need to have a financial advisor. My good suggestion is here, choose a good one who is not just want to sell you products because he or she is going to get commission. And good financial planning means you must understand your needs, understand your financial situation, do a very thorough analysis of your financial plans, goals, where you want to be at what time. Financial planning that involves your family. Make sure that the person understands you and your needs and your plans, and be able then to recommend products and services that will meet your needs, not their own needs. Very important. Very, very important. And therefore, good financial starts with you setting very clear financial goals. If you're young, set financial goals. If you're a young couple, set financial goals. Based with your goals and your needs combined together, get very good sound advice, and then start now to really make sure that you've got a clear saving plan, fixed plans, income savings, and then when you got a bit of some spare cash, play in the stock exchange, play in the equities. Very important to do that. You may be just, somebody told me, where's Theo? He told me Warren Buffett made most of his money after the age of 60, so there's still hope for me. because he knows how to play in the financial markets. And he invests well, and he knows how to pick up the bargains, and then he's a long player. And then those investments he bought 5, 10 years ago has tripled, quadrupled, even sometimes 1,000 times return. And that is why he's one of the richest men on earth. So that's why.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. So I did a little digging around you. You know me, I like sniffing around. So I asked for some anecdotes, and I found some very interesting one. That in 2018, you took the Nozala staff to Namibia. And amongst them, there were some who had never traveled outside South Africa. And today, because we asked them for those thoughts, they are eternally grateful. I think Mandla Msimang may be one of them. And Simpiwe says when her uncle passed away, there was a coincidental meeting at the hospital. You had gone to pick up some test results, and they were there. And she was quite moved by how you immediately dropped everything and you lent your support to them. So I looked for these anecdotes just to prove that leadership is not just in the boardroom. You are leading when you're at home and when you are out and about in your personal life. So your leadership role is recognized beyond the boardroom and investments. And I think someone told me that you also buy the Mama Guinya, which I thought I would never mention. But I also want you to talk to us about what the women that you are supporting in the trust are doing. What are they achieving? You told us about a lady from Lome in Togo. I once drove from Accra to Lome. It's a very bad driver. What are they doing? What's their material? What's their stall at the market?
I think the one that I really have become very, very proud of are the women that are making bricks and brick making. They call they're in Limpopo, Takalang, brick making. When this was in 1999, I think 2000, when they said they want to start making bricks. And fortunately for me, at that time, when we started, the World Bank supported us with the capacity building concept for these projects. And they had a Dr. Jack Fremy, the late, who just became interested in working with us. And from her experience in the continent, in Central and West Africa, she wanted to also, I think, have being married to a South African, or having been married to a South African, wanted to, and it was after apartheid was removed, and he wanted to contribute something to the community. And Jack went with me to that first meeting when we met them and they said they want to make bricks. And the chief there had given them land. And what was very interesting was when they were on that piece of land, they kept on asking, and I was trying to lean onto, it was an open, trying to lean on something that I thought was possibly just a stone or something, and they would come and say, no, no, no. No, don't sit there, don't. And finally I asked them, what is this? Why are you? Because it's hot. And they said, no, that thing there comes from Norway. And when we said we wanted to make bricks, through our community leader, who was Khomape, she then got these people to come, and they never asked us any question. And that was a brick-making machine. And because this thing belongs to those people then, we are going to leave it like that, because they never consulted us, they never said anything to us about how we want to go about our work and what kind of machine we would like. So that thing, when they come back, they'll find it sitting there. And it just opened my mind very deeply to say, you don't go and tell somebody you are poor and I can help you. And I stopped even using the word help, making sure that we don't use the word help. Yeah. You support. And this Jack Fremy, Dr. Fremy, was now bringing the World Bank concept of capacity building. Guide them to think in terms of the market, how they're going to source the materials, and where they're going to market that, for them to understand that those important elements for their growth have to be critically analyzed, and they should understand them fully. And indeed, when you look at what they've done now, including being South African Bureau of Standards accredited, it's them. The only thing, when I went about a month ago, they've become old, but the community allowed. You see something in that particular area because everybody buys bricks from them to improve their homes. And yes, indeed, we did not do it on our own, and I cannot even say it was Nozala and ourselves supporting, but we partner with other people. The CSIR was very important as the partner that came on to say they'll guide them in terms of making sure that they do the quality of the brick is right, and they become South African Bureau of Standards accredited. So they are right at the top now. The other one that really makes me feel, although I think, unfortunately, when you were poor and you rise and you become rich, some other people, capture you?
Yeah.
There's this in the Western Cape, Piketberg, where these women were sitting. You go there, it's a apple growing area, and they were picking up fruits and selling them during that period, the fruit picking period. And then we started, again, Jack was the concept of capacity building, identifying those that. And we got these ladies that said they want to make gems and sell them because they think there's a market. And indeed, supporting them and getting them to that, with, again, CSIR coming in to get them to that level of being proper. They call themselves, what is it, Mandla? Can you remind They've got their special name, Intaba, I think, and their gems, they are also Bureau of Standards accredited. They export the special preserves like figs, and they supply woolies in Stellenbosch.
Wow.
So, there are quite a number of them in Limpopo, Mpumalanga in particular, and those. But unfortunately for these that are in the Western Cape, as we were discussing the other day with the CSIR, encouraging them to continue with us, that unfortunately, when they get to that very high profile level, they attract abuse by those that believe they're better off and they can buy them out and then take over them, which is sad.
Yeah.
Which is very, very sad. So this is something that we have to try and make sure that we protect them against it. Because when they're at that growing and bankable stage, why should somebody come with monies and tell them, no, here it is quickly, and then they take over their business? It's not right. So this is the challenge that has been exposed recently. The ones in Limpopo, nobody is touching them. They are doing very well. And they are indeed doing very well. Now, the others, the agricultural those that produce agricultural products, in Limpopo in particular, we've partnered with the agricultural colleges that have made it very easy for us to support, train them, and help them sustain their businesses. A number of egg-producing groups, those that are also in vegetables and so on, and they have this. So it's, it could be better. We have not really fully achieved, but it gets somebody to say, at least we've got these good examples. As we grow, as we encourage them, as we get more of the partners, we'll get to that stage of really, because they are very seriously responsible for contributing to our economy.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. We now move to, we're opening the floor for questions, so think about what you want to ask. If you want to make a statement, please keep it tight and short and sweet. I already have 2 questions from our people who are following us online. One is from Spencer Mota. He's asking you, Pungani, what about crypto?
Crypto?
Yes, and then there's a second one. So this one is from Khomotso Rampele. Did Mesalu and Tate Morris always have a clear career vision? If so, how early in their career journey? Or did they design as they went along? I'm inspired by both leaders.
Thank you. Where's Theo? Yes, Theo. Was it you who told me that Warren Buffett said to his team, if you play in the crypto game, you're not allowed at Warren Buffett. You should be out of the place. Look, I need to be careful here. Crypto is a technology linked to blockchain, and you never write off technology, by the way. Be very careful of it. And you never say never with technology. And with all the skepticism that it is starting to drive, and it is actually, I was actually surprised. I mean, watching your former employer, BBC, they've got these very good documentaries, and in Kazakhstan, there is a massive, I think it's about 3 or 4 rugby fields of crypto mining, they call it mining dams, where you mine this thing. And I'll look at it and I say, oh. But if you ask me, I'm not playing. I'm not playing Bitcoin. I'm still watching cautiously. I'm probably a conservative person, and I'm watching it. I want to see exactly where it's going. And so I'm not critical of it, but personally, I'm still extremely cautious. And I'm not playing in it. I invest in, maybe it's because of my background. I'm an energy guy, you know. I want to invest in something where I can, we call it kick the tires, you know. Something that I can touch and feel, something that I can see, which has got net asset value, something I can see the jockey behind it, and I can hold him accountable, and I can see the strategy, I can see the market, and I can see, and I tend to invest in businesses that I know. Hey, crypto is one that I don't know who is responsible for it. It's everyone somewhere is mining, you know. And there was a presentation here at one of our programs called MMI, and I tried to listen very carefully. I said, no, this is not for me. Maybe it's for Palisa. It's for the youngsters. Because I just don't know who is responsible here, who I can hold accountable. So, yeah, my answer is, hey, guys, look very carefully.
Tread carefully.
Tread carefully.
Because you tread on my dreams. William Butler Yeats. Career. At what point did you always have a clear vision about your career path?
Yeah, it's actually quite difficult. You know, the blessing of living a long life is that you can look back. At 40 years ago, I was a 20-year-old, and you look at the way you've navigated, you look at the journey, and you wonder, actually, was I smart? And you realize, no, I was not smart here. Was I intelligent here? Did I plan it? And now. But there's something that are critical in success. First of all, there is no substitute for hard work. Let me repeat again. There is no substitute for hard work. So all I know is that whatever an opportunity that was given or it presented itself, I grabbed it with all my hands and I worked hard. And through it, it opened another door. Through that, and as I add value, it opened another door. Through it, it opened another door. And then from there, the choice of getting into energy business, in fact, the energy industry chose me through a friend, Joseph Luane, who actually recommended me into it. But once I'm in that, what I would advise is focus. Focus, and I focused in the industry, and I knew all the ins and outs of it. And in that way, it enables you to achieve two things, which Mam Salu has right now. She's very humble about herself, both affluence and influence. These are important. If you focus in your field, focus in your craft, know it, it will lead you to have a lot of influence, so that because you become an expert in that, people come to you for advice, give you guidance, but it also enables you to have affluence in order to be able to put food on the table, which is critical, take kids to school. So if you ask me, did I have a grand plan? No. But did I have a clear vision that I will be successful and a direction towards that? Yes. And did I have a commitment to focus on whatever I'm doing? Yes. And in that way, it leads to success.
Thank you. Thank you. Mamsaro, did you always have a plan from Orlando one day?
No, I think, and I hope I can answer this properly. I think for me, as I try to indicate what my background was like, I think I was influenced by my upbringing. not that seeing poverty and seeing the mothers and the fathers who were not necessarily my own mother and father, but supporting me and making me get to where I was. And I'll just pick up simple things like, you go to school, you are running in the streets, you have your shoes not properly, you have your belt, and then umama opposite, oh my child, come here, lungisala. Then he sees boys looking at you, hey, go away, So that guidance, that, enhanced my community interest, or, got me to appreciate the community, the people that were around me, and wanting to one day give back, and looking at the poverty that we're living with as I was growing older, and wanting to, get out of the situation. That guided me to what I find myself doing. And doing those, going to university, and being really passionate about improving the standards of living of my community, my parents, and myself, making sure that, I think that's what largely drove me. Because I remember when I had to come back home, leaving Lesotho, and I wanted to. And by that time, the master's degree that I got was through being in Lesotho through USAID scholarship. And coming back home and wanting to, apartheid was not yet there, wanting to engage and wanting to make sure that I work at IDC and target, township communities to support them with what I understood the IDC was doing. And they said, no. The answer was no. Not here. Go and find something, teach somewhere. Or it made me, but fortunately...
And you said, I'll show you.
Fortunately, I had the option of the African Development Bank because I had the Lesotho. I won't tell you how I got to get the Lesotho thing and all that. But I ended up being able to go to getting a job. Well, first of all, it was like the African Union, and I said, what do I sit there to do politics? And then ADB was the place that I got. And to me, it just got me where I wanted to be.
Brilliant. So this reminds me, so I'm from Orlando West. And when I was a kid, I wanted to travel so much. I don't know. I just knew that I don't want to just die having not left Orlando West. God, please help me. And I used to there was no Google Maps at that time. No Google Maps. There was an atlas where you see Atlas World Map. So I would just pick a page and open it. You know the mathematical instruments, there's something called a divider. It's got two sharp points. Yeah. And I would do this, and it lands in Indonesia, Java. Then I go to the Britannica and I read about Java. And I just want to go to Java now. I want to go. And then I do this, and I used to cram the American states. I used to know them by heart. My father used to say, give me 5 now, quick. And South Dakota, North Dakota, Oklahoma, just like absolutely mad about. And I didn't know where that came from. But when I was traveling, I remember I was driving from Amman in Jordan to Baghdad, and I was thinking, my dream, this is it. It's happening. So whatever you dream is possible. Any questions on the floor?
There's a question.
Mike here, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the Simpiwe that's been mentioned multiple times this evening. Mam Sali, thank you so much for seeing something in me and to empower, which is something that you do without effort. You empower women. It is your driving motive. And especially for the vote of confidence that you, and the huge endorsements that you've given me this evening. Thank you for that. So my father, Baba Khatebe, has spoken about partnerships. And I know that Nozala has had significant partnerships with likely and unlikely partners over the years. So I also want you to comment and say, and tell us, how do you navigate difficult partnerships? And also, how do you nurture partnerships that are value-adding, the way that Nozala and National Movement of Rural Women have grown together? I don't know if you guys know, but National Movement of Rural Women is a major shareholder of Exaro, with the MD currently sitting on the board of Exaro with the Nozala CEO as well. And it is one of the most amazing entities that just exists to empower rural women specifically, and it has, I think, over $1 billion in assets right now. So, Mamsali, how do you navigate nurturing such partnerships, but also dealing with the not so great partnerships? I won't mention the names.
Can I add one which is online, which is related, so that you answer in one? Because there's another question coming up. This one is from where did I see Richmond? Theo, where's Richmond? He wanted to know, what characteristics are you looking out for when you are trying to build a partnership for business? So if you want a business partner, what are you looking for? Mamsa?
I think when we sort of engage in terms of building business partnerships, we clearly indicate to the partner, we first of all want to assess very critical elements around the partnership. Let's take, for instance, an investment. Let me talk about the investment partner. I think we are all now having to ensure that we comply with the BEE codes of good practice. Now, we created for ourselves particular elements that we'll have to make sure that we achieve in the discussion as we develop this partnership. For instance, defining exactly what we want from this relationship. Not to get the shares and get the money, but being clear that in terms of starting with the development of the staff, if I may, professionals, they've got to make sure that women also come to the fore. Because we would have analyzed them and found that in this company, there's far less numbers of women that are in the management position, that also get exposed to being trained, that also, trained, capacitated to the extent that they can quickly and easily reach the top of profiles of the company, management levels. It's only men that are being supported. So we discuss that first and make sure that we get to agree on those. And strange enough, not strange enough, I think when we were asked to put together the main elements of the BE codes, and it was a committee that was created by the Black Management Forum with Cyril, the president, being the chairman of that, and we spent that. I mean, the larger part of what was used there was what we had decided. This is how we want to structure our relationship. we've got to make sure that all these important elements that are now there, enterprise development, capacity building, all those important elements, we advance for our relationship and partnerships with these investee companies. I'm sure you'll remember. And for that, we can easily add value, because that responsibility of adding value and making sure that we are not just seen as partners that want to make money and disappear and be rich, but we are partners that want to grow the business and make sure that with that long-term vision, we get to that the highest level of growth that we can achieve with the company. We don't control, we don't manage, because we come in not knowing, not having the experience of managing the Sasols, for instance, but adding value, making sure that we attract opportunities, contracts for them. That is what is something that we find ourselves being able to do and support them. And for that, making sure that the transformation committee that they may have, we sit on that committee. And we also sit on their board to also guide the policies, be there to contribute towards the policies that would not necessarily make us look good, but grow the business.
No, thank you. Can you combine your answer to this question with the answer to Samkelo's question who's come online? He wants to know, how can he become a member of ULP?
Well, it's easy to be a member of ULP, and now there's Roslyn. Roslyn, while you're standing, just raise your hand. National Mentorship Movement is in partnership with ULP, and then obviously working together with mutually collaborate. We have a website. It's there, Unleashing Leadership Potential. Just go into it. It will tell you how you register and become a member of ULP. In that way, you will get all the information there. You will receive all the notification of the events that are taking place. But we don't want also people who just want to be members. We want people who want to contribute. Is Confidence still here? Confidence, stand up. Confidence has got a passion for writing and authorship. And he came to me here and said, look, I don't want just to be a member, I just want to contribute. Today, through him, we've got a program called ULP Authors Forum, which basically does two things. I help him get the Bonangs of this world, all the writers of Judy and all the people that they've written. He comes and interviews them here on the ULP stage to dig into their mind and what inspired them to write the books. But at the same time, he's offering classes for aspirant writers, because we believe here in ULP that if we don't write our own stories, we'll have Americans and Europeans coming and writing our own stories, African stories. So don't be surprised when they're writing something that is not correct. So you become a member, but please, we don't want you to come and just be a spectator, but we want you to say, I have a skill and I have a something that I need you, that I can give and come and give. Because ULP is about creating a platform for people to give. Not to give money, but to give of their intellectual, their gifts, their resources, their ability to do what Mamsalo is. That's why she's inspiring, lifting other people. And that's the platform that we create. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have a comment before we take your question. Can the mic move to the third row, far right? not politically, of course. There's a comment from Nokonwaba Shwala. Thanks for the wonderful dialogue this evening, quite inspiring indeed. We just need to conscientize more South Africans to really practice Ubuntu, uplift one another, and stop politicking with people's lives. So thank you, Nokwaba, for that.
Thank you, sir. Sir, my question is on the same vein with the relationships that you spoke about. Now, my question to you, Babu Khadev, is that in these long-term relationships that you had, and some of these relationships, can lead to unethical behavior. Now, the question is, what maybe would be the antidotes to ensure that there is no unethical behaviors in the process, and ensure that those long-term benefits or win-win, they continue?
So you said your name is?
Sivuyisa.
Sibuyisa.
Sivuyisa.
Sivuyisa. Yeah, that's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
First of all, when you start a relationship, you must make sure that the values of the person you're going to be partnering with is in line with your own values. So I look for three things when I'm going to get into partnership, or even when I'm getting into any relationship. One, when you're employing, you want people who can apply their minds and think. And so level of intelligence, not for genius, but level of intelligence. Two, people who've got energy, passion, and contribution. Thirdly, integrity. Integrity. The other first two, if you've got them, but you don't have integrity, no relationship. Stay away from that. Because I promise you, and I always want, most of the people who have had me speaking, I say, talent take you to the top, but character keeps you there. I've seen too many of my contemporaries who are much more intelligent than me. Their talent took them to the top, but character flaws brought them down, tumbling like a ton of bricks. So in a partnership, that's the first thing. Secondly, chemistry. Do you really guys enjoy each other? Especially as you grow, you realize business is about having friends, having people that you enjoy having company with. And somebody saying, thank you, say, yeah. Don't do business with people you don't like, and they don't share your values and you don't like, and it just doesn't work, And so that's very important. Thirdly, you must have people who are prepared to put their shoulder on the work and put their pound of flesh. Because if you've got people who actually want to cruise and actually benefit out of just hanging around with you, and you do the work, it's not sustainable. So yeah, those are the things that I'm looking at when we're starting partnerships. Have I always been right? No. There's certain partnerships that went horribly wrong. But there's one thing that I'm very clear in my life. Failure is not the word I include in my vocabulary. I just include win or learn lessons. So there's lots of lessons I've learned out of some of the partnerships that have gone south.
Can you share briefly, please, briefly, edited version of how, when you just got your MBA, you started that shop, and you ran out of, you couldn't fill the stock and the shelves. That's beautiful. If you haven't heard the story, you learn so much from it.
Yeah, there's two stories. One about partnership. There was one partnership that I did, and I still feel guilty about it because my wife started a furniture business, and she was running it, and it became quite successful, but small, but it generated a lot of cash. She always reminds me. And then I met a group of guys, didn't do my due diligence properly. I did due diligence financially, but not character and values. And you must do that due diligence. And then I said, honey, come, please, man. Let's make a big office furniture business. Bring your business and let's get these guys coming in here. Eesh, that was the worst mistake. I mean, sure. She lost her business, we lost money, and they all didn't crash. Because they were just unscrupulous people. They were just using us. And then the second mistake I made was that I didn't get my hands on the till. Just make sure you know the business and get your hands on the till. And by the till, I mean, it's because my grandfather used to run the till. There's no more tills but the bank account. And I just trusted them. One of the most important things is, in God we trust. In everybody else we check. Learn that lesson in business. In God we trust. Everybody else we check. Okay, you told me the story. My foodie story is there.
Okay.
The shop. Very short
The
version
shop,
of it. Again, the very energetic young entrepreneur. It was a time where, funny enough, the organization I'm now sitting on the board of had this guarantee with banks. So you could easily loan money and be overgeared. So they said, just put 10% equity and they take 90% loan. That was the first mistake. And secondly, it was at the time where the interest rates now 5-6%. You guys don't know. At some point they were 20%. And I didn't realize that. So market trends and economic analysis of what's going on, please, before you start a business. Didn't realize that. First I'm overgeared, and then we started this business. My partner was really having a career in an insurance company, and I asked her to come and help me here run this business. Another mistake we made. Next door to it, another shop closed. And then I said, we can expand this job. So let's open a dry clean here. And you take the operational working capital, we take that money, we start a dry clean next door to it. You can't do that. And so 2 businesses collapsed. And we're bankrupt. And so I once upon a time was bankrupt, but not liquidated, because I didn't run away from my creditors. I went to them and I said, guys, we are in trouble. How can we help you? They said, we'll buy your business. I said, how much? They said, 1 rand. I said, what do you mean? He says, 1 rand and we'll take all of your liabilities. I said, take the business. So thank God I sold my business for 1 rand. But at least they took 80% of my liabilities. So those are the lessons one day I need to write a book about.
Yeah. So I'm sad to say we are now drawing to a close. So if you don't have a question, speak now or forever hold your peace. I've got one question at the back, and I have one here. So I'll combine both of them. So I'll start with this one. It's for you, Mamsalo. Question for Umam Hlongwane. After years of being an industry leader, how and where do you still draw inspiration? This is from Njabulo Ndlovu. And then let's have that one.
Hi, this is Palisa Chabalala from Empower Youth, and it's also from Mamsalo. Us at Empower Youth, what we normally do is basically we create a platform for the youth in peri-urban and rural areas where we bring them workplace, education, and entrepreneurial opportunities that often seem distant for them. And I think for us as the team, what becomes very difficult is we are so passionate about what we do, and we do all the research, to get the sponsorship, to get the partnerships and the different organizations to come on board. And I think while you were speaking, what spoke to me most was about how, when you spoke about Nozala Trust and the projects that you identified with, a lot of them were, you resonated with them from a subjective point of view in terms of they touched your heart. And for us that reach out to all these organizations, what advice can you give? Because, we can be so passionate, but if it doesn't touch someone's heart, we're not getting, their buy-in into this. And so how do you get to that point of touching someone's heart beyond the research, beyond the outcry and the desperation that we see in communities every day?
Thank you. So, as you answer this, you are now closing. Because we're watching the time, people have to drive home and so on. And so there's a conclusion in the answer, in both the question I gave you and this one. And then that will go for you as well, Prof.
I'm trying to, can you just repeat that first one, please?
The first one is where and how do you still draw inspiration?
Okay. Really, it's from the successes of these projects in particular. I mean, I mentioned those 2, 3. And not even the ones that we've supported, but to see other women, other people somewhere that do what we are trying to do, perform and become better. I think that's where I get my inspiration and continue interest in what I'm doing or what I want to support the communities with. And again, I'm looking at them and I hope they won't feel like I'm just saying it because they are here. But when you, in terms of what I think she was, the second question, when you really see, the young people that are coming, our children, because these are as old as my children, performing so well and with their hearts being also much more, not selfishly wanting to be, I want to be the first woman that does this, I want to be the only one that, no. But you see them wanting to share and wanting to grow with others. I mean, it really, really very much inspires me. I work with them, and you see how they behave with the others and how they really become very supportive and growing the others as well, without lying to them to say you are good, because that's another serious thing that we always have to address. Being truthful to each other in terms of the good and the bad, and having to correct and having to grow from where. I think for me, you guys really inspire me. You make me feel good. Because when we started, we all, especially some of us, were saying, when this whole BE policy ends, what's going to happen? I don't belong. I may not be effective. As I indicated earlier, the economy is now part of the broader world economy. There's no BE at that level. We have to perform to meet the standards of world economies. Now, if we remain using BE as the motivation, as something that gets us to higher places, instead of getting the younger ones that come with new academic training, new concepts of development, not BE. I mean, if those are not coming up, what are we going to do? So, in short, that's my inspiration. The little bit, the few that are there and that are really doing well. For me, it makes me become very ready to go into my grave and sit in peace.
That is powerful.
I'll start with the second question for that lady. I'm really impressed that you're working hard and you're trying to knock on the doors, and all I can say is that keep on knocking, be resilient, be strong. You will have the Mamsalus of this world that will open their hearts, but the world there sometimes is rough and sometimes it's unfair. Don't give up. Be resilient. One day it will come through. There's no doubt about that. And again, the national movement, together with our new partner, with Nozala, who's also a partner, opportunities are always here. Come, play with us and be with us. Something is going to break through in your life. Now, the second question is what inspires me? And I listened to a man many years ago, and he shared this dream, and I believed in it. I'm still believing in it. It's probably naive to believe in it. But he said, one day, we should be able to lock poverty into a museum. I'm going to repeat that. Lock poverty into a museum. So that one day, when our great-grandchildren, we talk about poverty, they say, what is that? And you have got to take them to a museum to show them what poverty is. That's what is inspiring me. Hopefully not me, but in you, in your lifetime, in your children's lifetime, we will talk about poverty like it's a fairy tale. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ma'am, sir, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, if I understood the young lady behind there, I think we don't necessarily, those examples that I highlighted of, projects that make me feel good, it's not just those because of, them belonging to the elderly or whatever. But there's also, I think it's called Nkatuto. Wow. This is a young, I think she lectures at Wits in sciences. I think she must have been about 30-something. She has a PhD. When she came to us to ask for support because she wanted to do weekend work with township schools and get to train the young ones or the African children in townships in sciences and maths. And in the process of doing that, I think one of the very nice achievements that she had was when she gave us a report of some grade 9, 10s that were beginning to address environment, solutions to our environment. And I saw this child fitting, you know, the likes of EnviroServe in South Africa to become one of the technical people, or, you know, developers of at EnviroServe, because I mean already 9, 10, grade 10, she's already imagining or creating solutions to some of our. I could not believe. But they are continuing, we finance them and we support them. There are others that are also in education that I think I mean, they don't do it necessarily only on weekends, but they give extra lessons and to, again, the science, mathematics students in townships. After school, they spend some hours with them to train them in these areas of weakness, subjects of weakness in townships. In fact, what we were also wanting to do now, I mean, what really is part of our plan, it's to be also focusing on the younger ones, on their own. Because I was talking about the brick making group that is, I mean, the ladies there are old. And when you look at their area and you want to get them to attract younger girls that are at home not doing, that are not Gauteng or somewhere in you know, in the big towns and are not working, to come and join them and take over for them. It's become a bit difficult. They don't want to associate with the elderly. So we're talking about maybe looking at them separately from encouraging them, just supporting them and really getting them to come up with ideas of how they can start their own businesses that would sustain and get them out of the situations that they are, no job, and make sure that this is in the rural areas that are. But even in peri-urban South Africa, which is where we operate, this is what we really want to strongly focus on, because it's not, the young ones are not necessarily imagining themselves as entrepreneurs yet. I think they want to be employed more than they start their own businesses, which is, you know, efforts that we have to really seriously put in.
Well, thank you very much. Before we close, can I ask the video of Dave Wilson to talk about partnerships and mentoring program to be queued up? And before that, I want to read a message from Lidile Mulukadi Bupape. I'm very fortunate to work with Mesalu every day. She is such a selfless, diligent, and committed leader. Development is her DNA. We need more strong leaders of her caliber.
Good evening. What an inspirational evening. And I can only say that I'm even more inspired about the possibilities of the partnership, the mutually collaborate partnership between ULP and Old Mutual and the National Mentorship Movement. I'm particularly excited tonight to announce that we will be running 2 pilot mentorship programs, intensive programs, through the end of March to the end of June. And one will be a group and one will be a one-on-one mentorship program. And I'm also really excited to say who is eligible. Every single person who is on this tonight, either in the hall or on live, will have the opportunity to motivate to be part of that program. Please don't be despondent if we cannot accommodate all of you on the pilot, because there is the full intention to roll out a bigger program thereafter. And why would you want to motivate to be on a mentorship program? Well, it's pretty simple. All the research and all our experience shows that somebody who has a mentor is just simply twice as likely to succeed in life. If you're a student, you're twice as likely to graduate from university. If you're a business owner, you're twice as likely to survive longer than 5 years or grow your business or to employ more people. So how do you apply? We've created a mutually collaborate site where you will go share a little bit of information about yourself so that we can get to know you better. And how do you get to that site? For all of you in the hall, you'll find in your pack a QR code which you can click on. We'll take you through to the site where you will share some demographic information, a bit of information about who you are, what your aspirations are, how mentorship could help you. If you're online, we will show that QR code also on the screen shortly. But finally, every single person who is registered for this event will receive an email which will contain the link and the QR code for you to register. We're really looking forward to receiving your motivations. We're looking forward to you joining the Mutually Collaborate Mentorship Program, either on the pilot or thereafter. It could change your life. Thank you.
Online.
If you write your name and email address on your little pieces of paper, just leave them on the desk and I'll pick them up and make sure that we email you, we get in touch with you, and we trigger the process for you. So people online, I'm not sure how that would work, but certainly everybody in the room, we will make sure that if you leave your name there, we will take care of it and get in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Bro Milton, are you done?
I'm done. Over to you, Theo. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for clapping. Thank you for watching.
I keep saying one day we will host just you and you can tell your fascinating stories to the people here. But firstly, let me thank you for always you indulge us even when it's unnecessary. Let me also thank someone, Ausmandla Msimang. Had it not been for her, Mam Salu wouldn't be here. We had some behind the scenes convincing that we had to do, but Ausmandla, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And also please pass my greetings to your family as well. Including Tatem Simang. He's also been here, and we've been glad to host him, so thank you. To our partners in NMM and Old Mutual, luckily Babakhatebe chairs both NMM and ULP. We're really looking forward to this. You know, Babakhatebe and I, we like to start things and change tires in the air. So just bear with us as we continue. And about that QR code, I think there is a paper at the back for those who want to snap it before they leave. But we're looking forward to this collaboration, and we hope that it will be fruitful and it will do something for our country in giving back. Mam Salu, let me thank you for coming. You're right, you know, Mam Salu, she says she's from Orlando. Even in the boardroom, you can tell she's from Orlando. I've been fortunate to be in a few meetings with Mam Salu. Mam Salu will listen to all of you, and then she'll say something profound for about 15 minutes, like she was doing. And then at the end, we all lost. And that is about investment and so forth. We can't respond. And then she'll say, but you know, I don't know, you guys are the experts. And we all scratching our heads, who's going to talk next? But it defines in a bit who you are and your humility And thank you for coming, Ma, today. Please clap hands for myself. Let me thank you for coming, and for those who are watching online. Again, first event of the year. We are off to a bang. I think we've had a few. We had an authors forum, and we had readers, young leaders, which by Confidence Runs, he had one in Attridgeville, and he's got a program that's going to be going the whole 12 months to different townships. So we're off to a bang. Go onto our website, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, to see whatever we're doing. We're continuing with the Women in Energy, all the programs that we have.